It's Still Ugly.
Still Ugly.
I'm Becki Newton.
I'm Michael Urie, and we are today on our 5th episode, which might be one of my all-time favorites.
I think it probably, this is, I would venture to say, I would hazard a guess that this is the most important episode.
Of all time? In the history of ever?
For us.
Not the history of TV in general, but okay, no, you're right.
No,
it might be in the Marc and Amanda and Betty.
Yeah, it's certainly it's canon.
It is. So I think this kicked off a lot of things that sort of we kept coming back to for the rest of the series.
It's called Faye's Sleigh Ride. It originally aired on October 19th, 2006.
Yes.
It was written by the great Sheila Lawrence, who was a writer on Ugly Betty the whole time.
Yes, and an incredible writer.
And directed by Trisha Brock.
One of our favorite directors that came back many, many times.
Wonderful. Actually, not that many.
Yes, she did.
I think it was less than we remembered.
I just remember her. I remember her presence. I remember her sparkle.
She was really important.
Yes, for us. And maybe it was just that this was such an iconic episode.
Well, this was the episode where Betty, Marc, and Amanda have an adventure together.
It was the first time we're a team with her. We work with Betty as opposed to against Betty.
Yes.
And that, I think, that dynamic was so crackly that it kept going.
It was also the first episode where we really started to laugh on set.
To the point where it still hurts. Like I watch it and my stomach hurts because I remember I actually was scared I'd never stop laughing.
It was because we were just having so much fun.
But it was like church giggles. I mean, it was like we couldn't breathe because none of us could stop laughing ever. Okay, wait. So just telling people where they can find us before we launch into the Faye's Sleigh Ride podcast.
Please like, listen, subscribe, leave comments if you like.
Watch us on YouTube. You can see us and hear us at the same time.
You can see how great we are, even though we're still ugly.
We're still so ugly, but worth looking at.
In this episode, Amanda and I take Betty to a mixer at the Rack, and it seriously backfires.
We thought we'll have a few drinks, take a few photos of her embarrassing herself, get some gossip, but instead, we all get in serious trouble when someone at the party leaks the details of Maude's Christmas spread.
Not our choice, but we are forced to sort of become friends with Betty to make sure she doesn't rat anyone out. Also, I meet her little nephew, and he's actually kind of sweet.
In the end, it turns out the leaker was our coworker, Carol, who we honestly didn't like in the first place. We keep our jobs, and Daniel freaks out Bradford when he puts his mom's old music box in the Christmas spread. Before we even get into this episode, here's a fan question that I think is an important fan question.
Yes.
And it's worth talking a little bit about. The most controversial part of this episode, the character of Fat Carol.
So the fan question is, watching the show now, it's a little shocking to hear how mean everyone is to Fat Carol. This writer says, I feel uncomfortable even writing Fat Carol. And it's hard to say. I mean, it is, I get that even at that time, the joke was meant to be that she was only overweight by industry standards. But still, it's kind of hard to watch. Did the way that character was written feel fat-shaming at the time? How do you see it now with the benefit of hindsight? So, I remember this being something we talked about at the time.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff, calling someone ugly over and over again.
Right. This was called Ugly Betty.
Yes.
So I think while filming, there was always this feeling of we're the biggest idiots on earth. So if we're calling someone Fat Carol, they can't possibly be fat.
Right.
And I think there was a certain amount of like, we're so ridiculous, so you can't trust us anyway.
Yeah.
Which is why in the episode when we turn Betty against Fat Carol and to hear Fat Carol come out of Betty's mouth.
Yeah.
I think.
And Fat Carol is a villain.
She's a villain.
The character is not.
Wilhelmina calls her Fat Carol. I think what it was playing with at the time was this idea of how people in office culture talk with each other, about each other. But I do think it's a great question. Like, would we ever call someone that today? No.
Certainly, not in a jovial way or a fun.
I think we were aware in the moment that it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it was absurd. And I think that's where it fell into comedic versus horrific.
I remember thinking it was going to become a trend with these characters Ugly Betty, Fat Carol, that there was going to be, like qualifiers for all of the people they didn't like.
Right. And
which didn't really end up happening. And I think for the better, because it's so mean. And, our characters, especially you and me and Vanessa's character, Wilhelmina, we were bad people.
Right. We were not good people.
Yeah, they're bad people. I mean, I remember I used to say that Marc was pure evil. And he definitely was. And eventually
we started out evil and we found the good. Whereas for other people, bless you, someone like Betty is so pure and we bring out some of the evil in her.
That's a great way to put it. And our evil, all three of these characters who are sort of evil, that is entirely a mask to protect their own fragile little selves, because they're all damaged.
Right. And have been name called themselves. Truly.
Right.
So I don't think we're sitting here saying that that's a comfortable name for anybody.
No. No. And when I say this is like the most important episode or instrumental episode, certainly that's not the part that I'm talking about. And I think it's like the Betty of it all, the Betty Suarez of it all is she's our heroine. She's our protagonist. And she makes the right decisions most of the time, or in the end, she's usually on the right side of things, and so
until she gets involved with us.
Well, yeah, and even then, she ends up, she'll do the wrong thing, but then like we do kind of throw Fat Carol under the bus.
But that's only after Fat Carol completely. There was a moment in the elevator. What happens?
Well, she's terrible to us.
She's terrible to us. And then finally Betty's like, let her get the axe.
Yes. But it ends up being that she really did spill all the...
She did. It was Fat Carol's fault.
And it ended up being... We gave Carlo Medina... Well, we'll get to the plot in a second. But we were...
Such a good name.
We all had a part in it. We gave him a piece of the...
but she was the one who
She gave the whole thing.
Okay, so Marc, Betty, and Amanda, we attend a mixer. Betty is a hit. And of course, Marc and Amanda can't handle that. That Betty actually had fun at the party, was giving out her business cards.
Yeah, well, she's become a legend because she saved the Fabia cosmetics in the first episode.
And they keep kind of cutting back to our reaction at the party. It's like, oh God, everyone just loves Betty. Which I loved those scenes too. And we're like, ugh.
I know.
I love those.
It was Rashomon. So, if you don't know what Rashomon is, it's a Kurosawa film where you see the same events played out through different people's point of view.
And it's a motif that they use throughout, ugly, and often. Our description of the events is very different than how they may have played out. Yes. Everyone has their own skewed way of viewing the same event.
I didn't know when we shot this in 2006 what Rashomon was.
Oh, really?
This is how I learned.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, they said this is Rashomon. We're doing a Rashomon episode. And I was like, what's Rashomon?
But we did more of them. And I just remember fashion. I remember more of them down the line.
Really?
Do you remember when we were talking about a mode party when Amanda gets the dress? And she's like, last night, that designer was all up in my snood. Meanwhile, the designer was completely ignoring me. So I think we went back. We did that again.
I love it.
Daniel, Wilhelmina, and Victor Bianchi prepare the Christmas spread, an apocalyptic Christmas, and Bradford, disturbed that the music box has gone missing, signs off in a hurry. Now, this apocalyptic Christmas, how funny was that? It was, and then they describe it, and they're like, and there's a tank, and then a Santa hat. Yeah. And it is so funny, because sometimes fashion is kind of like that.
Ridiculous.
You're like, this is preposterous.
I know. I love that. I love that those colors of fashion being bonkers.
And Wilhelmina describing it. It's she can do anything, and I believe her.
You do sort of look closely at the flak jackets, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool.
It actually looks pretty good. And the day after the mixer, I loved this. Mode is rocked when word gets out the concept of the spread has been leaked to the rival publication. Daniel has to come up with a new cover, and Wilhelmina focuses on finding the leaker. Vanessa Williams in that mode. Her eyes get a certain way, and everyone is terrified.
Yes.
And that makes me laugh so much.
Oh, it's so good.
And nervous Marc makes me laugh a lot. Hi, Willie. When you color Willie and you're really nice to her and you talk in a really soft tone, and she won't even make eye contact with you, which makes you more scared.
I see.
She's
and what's
so
great,
good.
what I remember about those scenes is that she's so scary.
Yeah.
But she's the second they call cut, she's giggling and laughing. Right before we start,
when I watch it, think she must be laughing, like behind her glassy glaze.
Yes.
I think she's laughing because it's so funny what she's doing.
Well, we're having the best time. We're having so much fun.
This one was it was so absurd. Her being scary, us being scared, teaming up to be like, oh my God, what happened? Justin joins Betty for a date at the office.
This is very special.
Very special. Claiming that a class at school has assigned him to profile someone whose job he admires. He immediately gets put to work as Betty and the other assistants rush to prepare the new spread. When he asked, do you remember this part? When they were at Betty's house and they're sitting at dinner and he starts saying, I want to do a piece about someone I admire. You see Hilda kind of sit up and he goes, Betty. You notice that? Where it was just this idea that I noticed, this through line that this new development in Betty's life was getting a lot of attention at home from Justin. And you could see the sort of comfort and discomfort with Betty finding her own way. Like, I know her family wants her to fly, but I don't know. And Justin was really into mode, and I could just see Hilda for a second, like, careful. Like, we were making fun of those modies last week. Now Justin can't wait to go spend the day with them.
Come on, I didn't.
Yeah, I noticed that. it was that push and pull.
File that, and Ana Ortiz is the greatest actor of
ever. Like, every color. Like, and this
Just
is all in a
incredible.
look on her face.
She always did that.
But also, let's talk about bringing Justin into the mode world.
So smart.
So smart to do it so soon.
Yeah.
Also, Betty's new at the office. You can't really just bring your family to work that soon. Like, so there was a little bit of a leap of like, she just rolled into work with a child.
Could I come to the office? And she's like, of course.
Right. It's like, yes. Funny. It's like, okay.
Really? Have you ever seen a child at Mode?
Work, at a magazine? I don't know. And Justin has an incredible time at Mode and befriends Marc.
Yeah.
I will say that watching, and this was very smart early on, how kind Marc was to Justin.
Evil Marc.
Your expression softens when you see him. Everything about your approach to this child gives Marc a heart, more of a heart. And it right away, that relationship is one that was pervasive throughout the series of your relationship with Justin and what that meant. I watched it again and went, God, that was like impactful for both characters. Yeah. That connection was a really big one.
And I'm sure this happens to you too, but like I'm not really being hyperbolic when I say everywhere I go, people want to talk about Ugly Betty.
Yes.
And obviously that's in part because it was so.
But I mean, we're talking now like this is 15, 20 years later. So that's like, it still comes up every day.
But for me, when people want to talk to me specifically about it, it is almost always, it's either my best friend and I are just like Marc and Amanda.
Oh yeah, I get that all the time.
Or it's seeing a character like Justin and a character like Marc on the show when I was a kid. That relationship, I think, especially for kids, young people, to see a character like Justin, and then to see this evil guy soften
so much,
see
nurture
a man, a young man, but a man nurture. It's so special, it's so beautiful.
And I wonder what the discussions were in the writer's room of, okay, when Justin comes in. Well, first of all, the funniest thing is in the elevator when you say, can you call him her child?
Betty's son. Yeah,
pregnancy weight.
Yeah, oh, that's pregnancy weight.
So at first, so they did that perfect thing where we first insult while also being like, what I love is that when it gets nice, it never gets so nice that it loses all of that flair to begin with. So it's like, oh, Betty brought her son to work. It's not her son. You don't care either way. But you nurture this human who's there, and you meet him with kindness. And how much of that did you have any discussions about what the relationship would be between Marc and Justin?
No, I don't remember I don't remember there being any, like, I don't remember them asking for my opinion about it. But I definitely remember, I remember my relationship with Marc in Delicato.
Yeah.
Was not dissimilar to it was, he had so much love and support.
Yes, he did.
As did Justin.
Right.
But unlike Justin, Marc in Delicato wasn't as far as I know, he wasn't like going to, at that time, he wasn't going to a regular school.
No, he was going to school on set, I think.
I think so. In New York, he went to a regular school. Once he was like a teenager, he started going to...
No, but originally, he was
He was going... In New York, I remember him going to like a... We'll ask him when he comes
We'll find out, yes.
But I do know that... I mean, I remember thinking Marc St. James would speak to Justin Suarez like an adult, not like a kid.
Huh.
Not it wouldn't, well, first of all, Marc wouldn't know how to talk to a kid.
Right.
But Marc knows how to talk to someone like this.
Yeah.
And he sees himself in this kid.
Wow.
And I'm sure envies and because we find out later that Marc St. James comes from a conservative home and has an accepting mother. And I'm sure, like, to see this little boy being given this opportunity to hang out at Mode magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's so beautiful. This is the other thing. That scene that we finally have at the end of the episode at the photo shoot where he says, "Be who you are, wear what you want, just learn how to run really fast."
Yes.
In my head, that scene is 10 minutes long, but it's like less than a minute. But in my head, it was like so impactful and so huge. And I think it's one of the scenes that has stood the test of time. Anyway, I'm sobbing.
I know.
This show, man.
Wait, is this when did we go to her house in this? Or
Yes.
am I thinking? Yes. Okay, so one thing, we go to Betty's house.
Hola.
And it's the first time you see Marc and Amanda at Betty's house.
Yeah.
So not only is this the first episode where there are shenanigans at Mode and we're trying to figure out how we're going to get out of this, we go to Queens.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this. Hey, have that same Jesus nightlight. And then, so Marc and Amanda show up and walk in and we go, this is flea market chic, because we're so dumb. We've probably never been to Queens before. We think we're in exotic land. And then our attempt at complimenting is, oh, it's flea market chic. You say you have the same Jesus nightlight. And then every time you wipe out on a magazine, and as though they just had a magazine on the floor, but do you remember you did it every single take?
Yeah.
And every single take, it was like you were going to completely fall over. And it made me laugh so much. And I feel like I interrupted a bunch of takes because I couldn't stop laughing at you completely slipping. It was like a banana peel slip every time.
Yeah.
And
they had newspapers. It was such a beautifully...
Oh my God, it was perfect.
It was so
but it was like a
perfect.
magazine on the floor.
It really felt like people lived there.
And what I really liked too, watching it back, is Marc and Amanda show up at this house, like and not, they're trying to be nice, but it's not working. Like, those are rude. But Ignacio was welcoming.
Yes.
Justin said hello. Hilda was like, I'm not sure about these people, because Hilda was a little aware of, like, sort of a little more aware. But with open arms, he says, why don't you invite your friends in from the Mode magazine? And she was, it's just Mode, Dad. And and they invite us in.
Sweet.
And that's the thing, this acceptance, this like, in that moment, we were the fish out of water, and we weren't even that nice.
No.
Yet
Extending a kindness to us that we didn't deserve.
He said, come sit down.
Yes, have some
Do you remember
flan.
when Amanda tried to eat the plastic grapes? Do you remember that?
Yes.
So I said, and Amanda goes, those are plastic. And Amanda goes, ew. And then he goes, and you could tell that Amanda was hungry. So Ignacio says, do you want to come in to eat? And we're both like, ew. And he goes, I have a flan. And I go, what's a flan? And he goes, it's a delicious custard. And I go, oh, bring it. And then the rest of the episode, we're around a table just eating all the flan, trying to figure out how we're going to get out of this meeting. I'm eating the flan. And we're trying to figure out how we're getting out of the meeting the next day.
Yeah.
But it was like, I see my kids with their friends sitting around a table. It was like 3 kids sitting around a table. So we got to be like playful.
Yeah.
We were in something together. We barged into her territory. And how great that so quickly Silvio and the writers knew to mix the worlds. So it wasn't there's Mode and there's the Suarez family, because that would just feel like they really knew how to weave us together so we could see all these different colors of each other. I loved going to their house.
Oh, it's so cool. And that was
Why does Marc have the Jesus nightlight? Because it's kitschy.
That's a great question.
Because it's kitschy and he got it at Urban Outfitters kind of thing?
Yes,
Not
probably.
because of Jesus, but because the nightlight's pretty?
Yes, it must have been.
Got it.
That's so funny. I thought the same thing when I rewatched it.
I have it. Why would he have it?
Why would he have
But for very different reasons why it was there. It was literally an homage to Jesus.
Yes,
Marc thought it was
religious
pretty.
family.
Okay.
But you might not realize this, listener or viewer, but
one viewer,
that
mom,
amazing set was a set. Like that house was built on a soundstage. It's so real.
I actually forgot that. But was it always? Yeah, the outside was on location.
For the pilot, they shot
in an actual house, but then they built the Suarez house.
Well, when we were shooting in LA, they had built the exterior too, and they would green screen around.
Right. So we shot, just so everyone knows, we did the pilot in New York. We did 2 years in LA and then 2 years back in New York.
Yeah.
But that particular house then was on a stage.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we were definitely on a stage.
In this episode, the other thing that keeps this music box business.
Yes.
Everyone's looking for the music box. It ends up being part of the shoot. Faye's Magic Sleigh. They recreate this Christmas shoot
from 1985.
From 1985. Clearly brings up lots of memories.
It's so funny. There's this like they have the post-apocalyptic thing, and then when the other magazine steals it, they realize that they have to scrap it all and come up with something new. And there's this hilarious montage of them trying to come up with something new. And there's that great line where he's like, should we do other holidays like Hanukkah, Kwanzaa? And
she goes, did you just look at me when you said Kwanzaa?
Remember Vanessa gave us all mugs for Christmas?
She did. Did you just look at me when you said Kwanzaa?
Yes, Vanessa did Christmas mugs for everybody every year. And that year it said...
Did you just look at me too? I think though this also, especially in this first season, holidays and Betty go so well together.
Yeah.
And we did proper holiday episodes. And that feels really old school to me.
Yeah, totally.
Because in this day and age with like streaming,
it's rare.
There aren't things that are timed like that. They really did time out holiday episodes. And
it was cool.
Oh, it was so pretty, like to walk onto those sets. And they were always so beautiful. We love you, Mark Worthington. Like, it just looked beautiful. It was so inspiring and so magical. Oh yeah, so that was their fix.
I thought it was so funny. There's a huge montage of them trying to come up with how to replace the post-apocalyptic spread. And then she comes up with, what if we recreate this? And it's the greatest idea.
It's the most beautiful. Yeah, and they would always show that. So Wilhelmina, as scheming as she was so smart.
Smart.
The other thing we find out here, Betty's informed by an insurance agent that her dad is not who he says he is.
Yes.
He's using a fake social security number.
And that was the great Cleo King playing the role of the HMO worker, Cleo King, who I worked with on Broadway. And
Amazing.
Chicken and Biscuits. Absolutely incredible.
But that's a big piece of information. We're like, wait a minute, Ignacio has a mystery?
Right.
What's that about? Like, we thought, like...
Right.
How does everyone
they find out that he's 170 years old and dead or something.
So like, what's that about? And that's like unnerving. So quickly, this dad, Betty's dad, we think he's the one that can solve everything. It's like, now even he gets a mystery. Every single character, just when you think, I know everything about them, there's something else to know. And I think Silvio really did touch upon the complexity of humans, right? Like the good people have bad, the bad people have good. Like we are all these people mixed together.
Yeah, we contain multitudes.
Yeah. And Walter listens to Ignacio's advice and tries to win Betty back by singing a song from her favorite movie, Beauty and the Beast.
It's so sweet. He's out there with the karaoke machine singing Tale as Old as Time.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I think, in my life, there was a boy who showed up with a karaoke machine.
What?
I didn't like him, so it got a little awkward really fast. It was like...
What was the song?
I don't remember, but I do remember it being in my hallway. He starts singing, and I thought, please don't let my brother come home because he will make fun of this for the rest of our lives. Like, I just remember thinking, I wish I thought this was a good idea. I don't, listeners, I don't know how much I would recommend pulling up, unless someone specifically says, hey, you know what I'd love? A karaoke machine, and for you to sing, Look Me in the Eye with full sincerity, a love song.
If you're on
would
the
you
fence,
recommend that?
No, I would say if you're on the fence,
go with no.
Go with no. If you're 100% sure they're going to love it, go for it.
But you know what I would do? Face the other way. Because that way, if they're dying of embarrassment, you don't have to watch them die of embarrassment.
That's pretty specific.
Right? If I was like, Michael, I have a gift for you, and I was like,
Taylor.
See? Don't you want to be able to laugh in my face without me seeing it? Right? It's like the glasses. Here we go again. I'm going to put on my glasses.
Oh, Gladys. There she is.
Right? So my point is, I would not recommend. But anyway, Walter does this. And I feel like the writing's already on the wall here with Walter. Like, he's trying really hard. I think there are other things out there for Betty.
Well, Betty's life is so different now.
It is.
He's still in Queens. He
and
works
she's
at the
changing.
electronics store. And
Yeah.
her life is like...
He also cheated on her with Gina Gambaro.
We have to talk about the Scooby-Doo of it all.
Yes.
So
okay.
This was the, and this actually, as I recall, and maybe this is like before Facebook, right? I don't know if this was a social media thing or if this was something that like actually got picked up by, because when this show, like.
I remember this.
Okay, when Ugly Betty came out, it was an out of the gate hit.
Yes.
And we were immediately in magazines. And I remember the three of us.
There's a picture of us all looking around a corner.
That was juxtaposed by the Scooby-Doo, that we were Fred, Wilma, and...
was I Daphne?
Yeah, you must have been.
I know I have a daughter named Daphne.
And now you have a daughter?
Oh my gosh,
no,
hi
wait,
Daphne.
Maybe you were...
Velma?
Wilma, and she was Velma.
Wait, Wilma and Velma
are
not.
Sorry,
there's only one of those. Hold on.
You were Daphne and Betty was Velma.
Yes, that all scans a little more to me.
There was no Velma. That's the Flintstones.
Yes.
And I was Fred.
And the idea...
And I'm literally in a scarf. I have a cravat the way that Fred had a cravat.
But it was like we were received as this trifecta.
Yes.
And suddenly we were on Betty's team somehow.
It was so cool.
That's brilliant, though. We're frenemies. And I think that's what made it fun.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, as we sift through the Fat Carol and this and that, like, we were all in the same, like, oh God, we're all in trouble together. And there's nothing that creates friendship more than when you're all in trouble together. Like, suddenly we're not against each other. We have to solve this to get out of this.
Same with Daniel and Wilhelmina. They also were in trouble together.
And you have to solve something together.
And there's that great scene in the elevator where they're both going up to the penthouse to talk to Bradford about how they've lost this post-apocalyptic spread to Isabella. And Wilhelmina incredibly smartly says, we'd be better off teaming up on this.
Yeah, so there was this constant game of like, who do you need something from?
Yeah.
And how do you backstab them? And the thing about Betty is she forgave everyone all the time.
Yeah.
And so did we. Like, I just think there was this feeling of, well, I have to do this and we'll be fine tomorrow.
Yes. But I think when I think of this episode, I think about the bathroom scenes that we had together.
Where we pulled Betty in and we're like, listen, how are we going to do this?
You're eating in the bathroom. And I start with the inhaler.
So they introduced this idea that Marc is an asthmatic who, when you get nervous, you start, your asthma kicks in.
And you
Amanda's just like an eater, a compulsive eater.
When you get nervous.
So I talk all my lines and they show me in the cafeteria holding like salad. But when I get nervous, I eat everyone's snacks.
Yes. It's so funny.
It didn't that's not something that necessarily stayed. I think it was just part of this, like, wouldn't it be funny if, and was it written? Or did we just do it?
No, it was written.
It was written. So I
remember it being written as like, this is when we learned that
Amanda eats all, even though I'm yelling at everyone, I don't eat carbs, I don't do this. Like, it's that thing of what we say and what we do are very different all the time.
But I think about the bathroom scene and us shooting that bathroom scene forever because it was a long scene and it moved around a lot and it was so funny and we laughed so much.
Hard. Yeah.
And then I think about the scene, us eating flan at Betty's kitchen table.
Because they filmed us on like that fishbowl lens, which also, when a camera's right here, you're stuffing your face with flan. You've got like the giggles feel like it was just this like, we started laughing.
And we laughed so much.
Did you think that I would ever stop laughing? Were you a little bit worried that I'd never stop laughing?
I remember, we laughed so much. And America was laughing too.
Yes, she was too. When she got started, it was bad. Like, none of us could stop.
None of us could stop.
Yeah.
I think, I remember there being points where I was like, I think the crew is nervous.
But the funny thing is, when you would hit your point where you were almost disgusted by how much I was laughing, it made me laugh hard. You'd go, okay, Becki. You'd go, okay. And you'd get a little like quiet and snobby. And I'd be like, because you were like, at that point, you knew how to turn it off, but nobody else could. Like, nobody else could. And you would get a little like, you'd stop looking at me and I'd still be in the corner like, so yeah, amazing.
And then the other scene I think of is this scene, the confrontation scene where the three of us are standing in front of
Vanessa, who's filing back and forth in front of us.
That was the other one that was really hard for us to keep.
We never, even Vanessa at that point, I don't think she laughed. I think I wondered because I didn't know her yet. I was like, is she judging me? Like, I couldn't stop laughing and I thought, oh my God, I'm blowing this in front of Vanessa Williams. And no. Now I'm like, whatever. I think she had just as much fun as we did. She was just more of a pro about it.
And it was still, and she had to be the heavy in the scene. So she, was like keeping it together.
But that was so much fun. So we talk about, emotional moments. I saw that and went, oh my God, I don't think I've ever laughed so hard in my life. And I did.
Oh,
and the whole time I'd be like, we're getting paid to do this?
Yeah.
I better get my line out. Like I couldn't, I actually worried many days if I'd ever get my lines out.
It's also the episode where we started to look a little clowny.
Yeah, so when so let's talk about the look of this. We always like to mention I don't necessarily remember the clothes of this episode, but the makeup. We went through a lot of makeup departments and a lot of different versions of what we were supposed to look like.
Well, I think there wasn't another show like this, so there wasn't really a frame of reference
of fashion makeup in general.
Yeah,
it's sort of a wide range, just like clothing. What two people might consider fashionable makeup is open to interpretation. So I think you and I both had a similar reaction to this, where it was maybe sort of clown-inspired makeup.
Yeah,
we looked a little.
We were very
powdered.
Powdered, yeah, very white.
We were powdered and very white and very And I remember distinctly, we were young enough where whatever makeup was put on us, we'd go, "Yeah, this is right. Do I look good?" And we'd look at each other and we're like, "Yeah, that's right." We didn't.
I don't. Yes.
We both paid attention and didn't pay attention because it wasn't in my mind. I was like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
I think I knew. Looking at it, I was like, that looks a little odd. We didn't look like we'd seen the sun in a long time. And
and that was another thing that specifically because now we were in Los Angeles. And
we couldn't be tan.
And we were getting tan because we were hanging out outside.
Okay, you just solved the puzzle. Someone had said, hey, guys, these Modis were in New York.
Yes.
Don't let them look tan. And someone took that note and was like, I am going to put so much powder on their faces that we looked borderline blue.
That's right.
And
we drowned.
It was like
frozen to death.
And I remember watching it back going but again, it's we didn't know. And even the clothing, I was like, in this particular episode, I was wearing those baby shorts, not a lot of clothes.
Yeah.
And it went away from sort of this fashiony girl to this sort of slutty receptionist,
slutty high school.
A little bit, and the hair. And so all of it took a lot of figuring out. I think we were lucky. Because we could chalk it all up to, well, it's fashion, who cares? Or it's fashion, they're experimenting with something.
Right.
When really it was just that we didn't really know. So we lucked out because you could get Amanda wrong and still call it right. Right? If I'm on Lincoln, well, I'm also playing someone who dresses kind of wacky. But in general, if you're playing a conventional person and something is off about your makeup, it's distracting.
Right.
In this instance, there's so much distracting going on that we could sort of get away with it.
And we were, the show was established in New York at the center of fashion and with real fashion people involved in the pilot. I mean. And the makeup was, there were New York. It was a New York crew.
Yeah.
And then we moved to LA and it was a LA TV crew.
And then the interpretation of what does fashion look like when put on TV.
Right.
Because you can't be avant-garde necessarily and then maintain continuity and look like the character. So I do think that was a puzzle that I don't know that we ever fully figured it out.
Yeah.
Amanda, the more fashionable she got, sometimes it looked silly. And I was like, is this funny or is this Amanda dead serious? And I think that question is something that we never necessarily answered. And sometimes it overlapped perfectly. And sometimes it's like, what is happening?
Yeah. I remember, especially in the third and fourth season when we were back in New York.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of butting heads between the departments.
Yeah, what should they look like? And we know we're ridiculous, but are we in on this joke or are we not in on this joke?
Yeah.
And the makeup was a thing. I remember the first couple episodes of just some odd colors.
It was no one's fault. It's
never fault. It's vision. It's we're all working together, and some people were some people had an opinion, some didn't. I remember Salma Hayek at the time coming into the makeup trailer and going, "What's going on with this makeup?" In her accent. That was, I can't think of a worse Salma Hayek impression. But definitely was what do we want these people to look like?
Yeah.
Chic or ridiculous? Which one?
Right.
Or chic and ridiculous. But I think it's something it took, if you look at Wilhelmina's makeup, that was chic. It was put together and poised.
Well,
and then you see Marc and Amanda looking kind of silly.
Vanessa had the great Kate Best.
Kate Best, right?
Makeup.
And Vanessa knew exactly what she thought Wilhelmina should look like. That's one of the big things I learned from her.
Yeah.
She was so dialed into what she wanted to look like. I didn't really understand. I think we've mentioned this. Like, I didn't understand what Amanda thought she would look like yet. So in my head, like Becki, who didn't wear a lot of makeup, thought it's either makeup or no makeup. I didn't understand like all the nuances and that Amanda is over the top and Amanda is experimental, but she'd also make fun of someone who experimented too much. So it's like, it was complex to interpret what these characters thought fashion forward meant.
And hair too. I mean, I had a different hairstyle in every, I've had a different hairstyle in every episode so far.
Right. Which is like also it's part of fashion, it's playing.
Yes.
And sometimes I think we got it more right than other times.
Yeah. Well, there was a point, there's a point, we haven't gotten there yet, but there's a point in the show where I had this, basically the haircut I'm currently wearing.
Right, with like the two parts on the side.
Yeah,
so cute.
The faux hawk thing I had for like a year and a half.
I remember that, yeah.
And I finally, when we got to New York, I was like, can we shake this up? Because I think there's I think there's a middle ground between wearing the same hair every day and playing with hair.
Right.
And then I had some crazy haircuts in New York.
Well, and that's the trick, is how to let these characters grow, but you also really need to establish who they are. And I think we were fighting in the beginning, like in those episodes of going like, how do you push the boundaries but still establish who they are? We didn't know yet.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about hair.
Your hair looks really good.
Does it look good?
Yeah, it looks really good.
Do you like it?
I do. I had a lot of hair. There was also an errant hairpiece. Like I noticed in this episode, they would just pin some hair on my head and it's like an other character. I don't know that it was blended, but it was fine. I think the idea was more hair.
I have this memory. You know how Vanessa has like that thing?
Yeah.
What do you, listener,
a bump it. We called it a bump it.
A bump it.
A thing you put under someone's hair to bump it up.
Okay, so I'm not making this up.
You did not invent bump it. Someone else that makes a lot of money off of it.
There's a literal thing
called a bump it.
What is it made of? What is the?
I don't know.
Is it plastic?
I don't think it's
plastic. Is it hair or is it?
No, I think it's like
some kind of mesh.
Maybe a
tube?
meshy thing is what I'm.
I'm imagining like a toilet paper roll.
Can you imagine if that was under there? No, I feel like it's like I don't know.
It's a
shaping,
though.
But it has to be light, and you'd have to be able to. We're gonna find
Vanessa
out.
Wearing a wig?
No, I think it was just a bump it. Can we confirm when is she coming on the show?
Well, she's on the West End doing Devil Wears Prada.
We'll find her.
I don't think we can get her.
I think we have to close this episode so we can play some games.
Did we talk about top looks?
Kind of. Okay, we did look.
I was very fond of my costume for the bulk of this episode, the plaid thing. I thought that was really
amazing.
That's one of my favorites.
It's very. I remember the outfits. Like seeing this episode, I remember those outfits, and it could be because those particular pictures of us ended
in magazines.
So I remember them also as very like defining.
I also remember Vanessa's banana.
She looked full banana.
She looked like a full banana.
She did, but a beautiful full banana.
But that was the first time you saw her in a real color. I think she'd basically been in monochromatic.
Right. It was still monochromatic. It was just banana.
That's true.
She was branching out into banana colors.
What do I mean? I don't mean monochromatic. I mean
she was always in white and cream, and so this was like big adventure in color. Some yellow.
Yeah, it's just like a Big Bird moment. Oh, and Justin's baby blue Ralph Lauren. Oh,
so my God. Cute.
So sweet.
Oh, where is that sweater right now?
It was a vest.
A little vest.
A little blue vest. And it's such a sweet like moment when Marc St. James comes in and says to Justin, great vest. And he's like, thanks. And then that's the into the kids at school.
I can't wait for him to come.
What about Waterworks?
Oh, for me, Waterworks really was when we were all together and Vanessa filing back and forth. I remember that feeling of, I am giggling, this feeling of laughter and joy, if I could bottle it. I remembered that feeling and that like electricity mixed with, oh God, please don't let me get fired because I can't stop laughing and I don't want Vanessa Williams to hate me. The absurdity of life and how wonderful and amazing and insane, but mostly that feeling when you can't stop laughing. It's like being back in middle school. Like I don't think I had laughed that hard in my entire life. And suddenly every day at work, my dream job, I couldn't stop laughing. Like even when I watch the bloopers of us laughing, I start laughing like that again. Like you can't bottle, if you could bottle that, oh my gosh. So for my Waterworks, it was seeing us together with America, side by side with Vanessa. And I remember that really felt like oh my gosh, I'm part of something. Absolutely. Not only is it being received well, but how it feels on the inside is the most fun I've ever had in my life.
Oh.
How about you?
For me, it was Marc and Justin together in those director's chairs on the set, the photo shoot set. Like that scene, it's got to be the it's got to be the most impactful single scene that has sort of withstood all of these years. When I hear from people about something specific about the show, it's that relationship, and that was the beginning of it. And for I don't know that they interact for a while. They definitely do interact again, but it was a while before they were brought back together. But that was so impactful that it doesn't feel like that. It feels like
they didn't need to keep showing it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And they did it so early in episode 5 that like it really felt like a really major moment, and I'm just so proud of it. I mean, I'm so proud of everything about this show, but that relationship especially, and that Marc and Delicato has turned into such a wonderful man.
Man,
I just saw him the other night.
I can't help. I still think of him as little, but he's not. He's a grown man.
And I just saw him the other night, and he couldn't be lovelier. His parents were great. They were around all the time, and Lynn, his mom, was always there.
Always there.
Part of the family, and so great. And obviously, like, he had this incredible work family. And
he was very loved and very supported. And you could tell he loved being there too. So it was great.
Oh, yeah. And I remember that day shooting the scene with him thinking, this is very special, what's happening here.
That's amazing when you know it while it's happening too.
Like we got to get this right, and this will matter. I remember thinking this will matter.
Mm-hmm.
I also remember this moment. I can't wait to ask him about it. I wonder if he remembers when he was, I think it was this episode. If it wasn't this episode, it was around this episode, hanging out on set in director's chairs and overhearing crew members talking about a football game or something, or a basketball game or some kind of sporting event, and it being quiet and that being the only thing either of us could hear. And the two of us, he's 11 and I'm like 26, looking at each other and obviously having no idea what they're talking about. And he said, 11-year-old Marc and Delicato said, "Don't worry, we've got fashion." As in, that's our sports.
I love that.
It was
that.
really sweet, and it was like, like he was only 11, and he didn't know a lot of things yet, but he knew that he and I had something in common.
I love that.
Not just on screen, but off screen too, and it was beautiful, and that he's become such a great, and he's so good on hacks. And
are we gonna cry when he's here?
Oh my God!
Yeah, we're gonna cry when he's here.
I'm about to cry just thinking about him coming.
Should we play a game?
This game is called Crack Under Pressure. In this episode, Wilhelmina tries to find out who leaked the Mode Christmas spread. So today's game is called High Stakes Interrogation.
I'm so nervous.
We will each have 30 seconds to get the other to guess as many words from a list as we can. Okay. We can say anything except the words themselves, and we're not allowed to reference the show. Whoever gets the other to guess the most wins. Okay?
Okay, let's do this.
Get it?
Kind of.
Okay.
So I know the words on Michael's list, and you know the words on Becki's list. So get it? So I have to get you to say the first thing. Okay, you go first.
And we have 30 seconds.
Okay, go.
Okay, it's custard.
Flan.
It's a movie about a girl who loves to read, and she ends up at a house that
Charlotte's Web.
That is filled with people who have been transformed into inanimate objects.
Beetlejuice.
And they sing songs. It's a Disney movie.
Beauty and the Beast.
Okay, this is a post-apocalyptic movie with Mel Gibson, and where there's cars, and they also remade it with Tom Hardy. Post-apocalyptic. They remade it with Tom Hardy recently, and Charlize. This is a magazine.
What magazine?
It's a real magazine.
Cosmopolitan.
Yeah. Time's up.
Okay, what was the word?
I got 4.
Oh, you have to go down the list. I thought you were trying to get me to get one word.
That was... No.
So
you got
I win.
Flan,
I win.
You got Beauty and the Beast, you got Mad Max, you got Cosmo.
Okay, ready? Here we
Okay.
go. I like to eat these with tomato soup.
Grilled cheese.
Okay. A song that people often sing at Christmas.
Deck the Halls.
Nope.
Silent Night.
You ring these.
Sleigh bells. Jingle bells.
Thank you. What year were you born?
1980.
Please add 6 years to that.
1986.
Thank you. What is a fuzzy type of lettuce that one might
Frise.
find? Thank you. What is a type of army-inspired coat?
Flak jacket.
Thank you. Sometimes, how many did I get?
Oh, you won. Congratulations.
Oh, I like
You're
this.
so dead behind the eyes as you were doing it.
Really?
It was very funny to see. Like, you were like focused.
I was
and,
focused.
Like,
That's me laser focused but I got 5.
You got 5. You did really, really good.
Fan questions. I have a fan question. This is a section now we're going to do called I Gotta Ask.
I gotta ask.
And I really do love fan questions. We always have.
So
Back in
cool.
the day, we used to receive fan questions. I love them.
It's so cool.
I love.
I
Okay,
do too.
so we have another fan question, and this one is for Michael. And as a reminder, if you want to reach out to us, you can. You can ask for advice, you can share your dirty secrets, or ask us questions about Ugly Betty or anything else.
Yeah,
Michael.
you can email us at stilluglypodcast@gmail.com, or you can call us on your landline or your cellular telephone
Ooh.
at 347. Your cellular telephone is the thing you take pictures with, kids. 347-480-1821. And you can leave us a voicemail. We love hearing your voices.
Please. Okay, Michael, today we have someone with a question from Christian here in Southern California.
Okay.
Christian says, I love Marc and Justin's dynamic with each other and how Marc gets Justin in ways Hilda sometimes doesn't. Was there a real life Marc in your life when you were Justin's age? I think that's an amazing question.
Wow. So, yes, kind of. He was much closer in age than I was to Justin, than Marc was to Justin. But yeah, there was this guy. I wonder if he'll listen to this. I still know him. He was he might be like 5 years older than me, 4 or 5 years older than me. But he went to my high school. His name is James McQuillan. He went to my high school, and he was and still is a music director. And he would play piano for our musicals.
Okay.
And he would sometimes be the musical director. And we just got on famously, and we would go see shows together and have lunch. We would go have lunch together. And
talk about musicals,
talk about
everything.
musicals. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Talk about musicals. We would see shows together, and he was great, and is still great. And we don't live in the same city, but he's still a music director, and he's still awesome and hilarious. And he, he was, we're both from Texas, and we both grew up in Plano, and he probably knew who he was. Well, he was older than I was. He knew who he was probably before I did, and he was awesome.
I love that.
Yeah,
Thank
really
you.
cool. Good question. Thank you so much.
And what was his name again?
James McQuillan.
Thank you, James McQuillan.
Thanks, James.
That's very cool.
Yeah, really cool.
Well, now we have to say something nice about each other.
Okay.
Okay, think of this one. This is like, there's so many nice things. I really like who you are as a person. I think you're great.
That's a big one.
I just think you're great.
I really like that you made us get cookies with our tacos today.
Because the salt on top
They
of
were
chocolate,
really good.
you don't think those would go together. I just lit up.
You're more animated now than the entire episode.
Because you mentioned, so if you put salt on a chocolate chip cookie.
So good.
I know, it was like a later in life discovery, but you get it, right? Because at first you're like, meh. But then you thought about it more, and now you want another one.
I want another one.
Well, okay, more cookies to come.
All right, thanks for listening.
See you next time, guys. Still Ugly is filmed at Rabbit Grin Studios.
Produced by Rabbit Grin Productions.
Music by the one and only Jeff Beal.
Executive produced by Rob Hollis, Jeff Porter, Natalie Hollis.
Creative producer, Jesse Thurston.
Video edit and mix master by Chris Fowler.